This week on Local Film Talk, we're chatting with director Andrew Huggins. To be the first to get all our new episodes, subscribe to the Local Film Talk channel on YouTube, and if you don't have time to watch, then subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Now let's get started, folks. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Local Film Talk. This is the show where we talk to local filmmakers about the projects they're working on, hopefully get some advice that you can use on your own films. I'm Bob Walters.
And I'm Conrad Arnold of Triangle Film Community. And today, we're talking to Andrew Huggins, whose short film Civil was the festival winner for Film Spark 2015. Was a really excellent 8-minute Civil War drama.
Andrew has done a lot of short films, written even more screenplays, and it was really cool to get a chance to talk to him about his work and get some advice for you guys about shooting period pieces on a budget. So we think you're really going to dig this conversation. But before we get started, we got a little bit of business to take care of. We, of course, have to thank our sponsors. I guess we'll go ahead and call them sponsors. And those would be the filmmakers who provided us with posters for our backdrop.
It's about time we got some posters.
It is about time, and we're very grateful to the people who gave us these, aren't we?
We are.
But just because we have some does not mean that you shouldn't send us yours. Let's start off by thanking director Nick Beery for this poster for My Dumb Face. I got to see the premiere over at the Varsity Theater in Chapel Hill. Super awesome 24 minute short film. Really right. Well done. A lot of cool local people involved. You're on the board for the Eastern North Carolina Film Festival, so you got a chance to watch it, right? Or you're going to?
I have not watched that entry yet, but it is.
It's on the docket.
It's on the docket. It will probably be.
And he's frozen again, folks.
Motherfucker. Okay.
Just these freezes are going to lead to an explicit tag on the podcast. Just because this thing keeps freezing and Conrad swears every time. I love this.
Why? It's not like we're uploading tons of stuff to ShareFile. You know.
Maybe you need to reboot your iPad or something.
Screw that. I'm in the middle of this. But no, I don't remember what I was going to say now.
Oh. Yeah, you were going to say very nice things about Nick Beery.
I will be seeing it soon enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've seen plenty of other work from Nick, and it's all very cool. So if you have a chance to see anything by Nick Beery, especially My Dumb Face, we highly recommend you take that opportunity because he does great work. He works with a lot of cool people around here, and the end product is always awesome. So My Dumb Face, check it out.
For Eastern North Carolina Film Festival,
yes,
will be your other poster.
Yes,
is entered into there,
which had its world premiere this past weekend, actually.
Yes.
As you folks can see right here, I have my ticket. I stuck my ticket in there with the poster. It's so weird to be in a movie theater watching a movie on the big screen and actually know the names of everybody in the credits. That's just weird.
Yeah, it was weird for me because I was an extra in one of the shots near the end. And I had to see myself be awkward on camera. Again, you know, it's just like I was hoping I would never see that shot, and then there it was.
I really liked the movie. I took my wife. She thought it was pretty good, too. You know, just beyond knowing everybody in it. It was a cool movie. It's going to start making the festival circuit, so if anybody has a chance to see it, go check it out at the Eastern North Carolina Film Festival or wherever it is showing next. It's an awesome little film. And, you know, again, a lot of awesome people here in the community, people who have been on this show were in it. So go check it out. Help support local film.
I think we need to talk about the Peak City Film Festival this coming weekend.
Absolutely. This Saturday, which is actually April 2nd, right?
Right. It is.
So give the people the information for that one, because I don't know it.
It's going to be at the Halley Arts Center in downtown Apex, right by the Blistered Pig. Keep moving so I know that I'm not frozen. There we go. Yeah, there. Thanks. And then we're going to be premiering Union Bound Uptone Pictures film.
No, it's a cool one. I've been interested to see how that one came out, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, you'll get to see it Saturday, sir, because I know you're working, as am I, on that film festival.
Yes, we're busy these days.
We are busy these days.
In fact, we got something coming up the next night. What's coming up after that?
April 3rd, 7 p.m. at the Cary Theater, we are screening the premiere of Evan Kidd's feature film, Son of Clowns.
Coming all the way back from Louisiana. Boy went down to Baton Rouge to further his career. But before he left, he shot a feature film here in Raleigh, and he's coming back to debut it at the Cary Theater. So congratulations and welcome back to Evan Kidd. We're looking forward to that premiere.
He's already back in town because he was posting pictures of Bojangles, man.
Oh, I mean, it's a priority. When you come back into town, you got to get your fix. I think Chris Medico, when he came back into town for the Where We're Meant to Be premiere, that was one of the first things he did.
Yeah, the Bojangles ain't everywhere.
So that concludes our ad for Bojangles.
So yeah, Son of Clowns Sunday. Tickets are $5. They are available through the Cary Theater website, or there's a link in the Triangle Film Community group, because the event is pinned to the top as of the recording of this episode. Right. If you watch this episode next week, it won't be pinned to the top anymore. You missed out. I'm so sorry. One day your life will have value.
Unless you happen to have a ticket to the Eastern North Carolina Film Festival, which, in addition to My Dumb Face and Where We're Meant to Be, will also be screening Son of Clowns.
I'm starting to feel like all the big local films that are happening right now in the Eastern North Carolina Film Festival.
Yeah, screw those guys. They're stealing our thunder. We're going to have nothing left to debut at Film Spark.
You know what, Ron Cooper? We're on to you now, buddy.
And we got a meetup coming up later in April.
That's right. Plan your calendars. April 21st. We're going to be at Rally Point in Cary.
If you want to meet some of these people whose work is featured in the Eastern North Carolina Film Festival, a lot of them will be there at this meetup.
The meetups are the bread and butter.
Great for networking. You can always meet a bunch of cool people. Definitely check it out. And those are free. Those are free to the public.
They're totally free. If you're new to the area and you want to find some sets to get on, holy crap, that's a great way to do it. If you got a project and you're trying to find some people to help you out, boom, there you go.
This is the place to find your compadres, your future partners in crime. And I do feel like, even though this isn't on our agenda, I do feel like there's one more thing that we need to throw out there, and that is we are taking submissions to Film Spark now. Yes, we are. Let me get the URL there. Head over to the our Film Freeway page and submit your films. We are in discount time right now.
That's right. We are at filmfreeway.com/festival/FilmSpark.
And what is the early bird special right now?
The early bird runs until May 1st. So
one more month, people.
One more month, and then the price goes up.
And what is it now?
It's $10.
And what does it go up to?
We'll go up to $15 because we're not trying to.
Holy crap! That's a 50% increase, people. You got to get in now.
And just so everyone is aware, we're
taking shorts, we're taking features. Just if your film qualifies, we got all our requirements up there on the page. And if you think your film qualifies, go ahead and submit it, and we will try to get it in. We want to feature as many fantastic North Carolina filmmakers as possible.
Yes.
So, well, that concludes our notes at the beginning of the episode, our various ramblings, our various swears and curses to Time Warner Cable.
Suck it.
So without further ado, before Conrad freezes again, let's go ahead and send you guys to our interview with Andrew Huggins. So you were saying you live in Concord and you do a lot of work recording stuff at the Speedway for the different race teams and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I always like to ask people what their day job is, because sometimes it's not in filmmaking, but you actually get to do this stuff for a living, which is nice.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I worked in retail at GameStop and Adidas for 8 years. I was at GameStop for 7 years. So from when I was 16 on, so I learned a lot about people and kind of the general public doing that. And then I quit that right as I was coming out of film school. And it took me about a year after that before I was really getting the freelance work. But now, as it is today, like I get enough freelance to kind of just consider it my full-time gig, so it's been fun.
Well, I assume once you get started, once you got some stuff under your belt and you got some word of mouth going, it's a lot easier to keep getting gigs. Was it tough in the beginning when you were just starting out?
Yeah, it was. Well, I was really lucky in that I had two professors in film school that were mentors to me and just huge influences on me, and they employed me a little bit coming out of school on some of their projects. So I had a couple connections there, but yeah, other than that, it was the way I always heard that it is you don't even need the degree. It's just who you know and how you can make connections. And it was kind of true. Once I shot a few things for Ray Evernham Enterprises in Mooresville, Ray's got a show called Americana on Velocity Network, and I was able to fill in one day as a local camera operator for that, and now I've shot with them several times, and it just kind of spirals. It's just, you have a couple good experiences, and you meet super nice people that bring you back, and it, kind of turns into this actual job, which is fun.
Right. I mean, most people wouldn't think of Concord, North Carolina as a big, big place for filmmaking, but it's kind of the hub for NASCAR, and those guys have a lot of TV deals and stuff like that. So there's probably, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there's actually probably a pretty decent scene there, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up here, and once I graduated from film school, it occurred to me, like, all this motorsports stuff is here. And I know these guys have TV shows. I know they film everything they do. I mean, they film, just everything, because they're constantly driving these ridiculous, awesome cars and doing these events. And I was able to kind of get into that lane, and it was, it got really busy for me. About last fall is when it started to get pretty good for me.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you were talking about getting to experiment with some stuff, like putting a bunch of GoPros on a stock car. That sounded like a lot of fun.
Yeah. I basically, I was the person in film school that was like, just set up the tripod and let the actors act. I didn't do a lot of fancy stuff. I shot things really traditionally. Even if I was doing event videography, I would do it pretty traditionally. And then I did this commercial with Casey Kane for Hendrick Motorsports, and it was like, well, we need, all these different angles as they're driving 180 miles an hour. Like, how do we do that? And it's like, well, we had to just throw GoPros everywhere. So it was kind of fun to finally mess around with stuff like that, and a different challenge. Instead of just filming a talking head, you're filming these action sequences, like this NASCAR stuff. It was pretty fun.
Let's film speeding cars with stationary cameras.
Yeah, we did some simple shots like that where they just flew past the camera, but it takes like the distance of the car, like going past the camera, is like a frame of video, so it's like it doesn't really work. But
yeah,
right, you'll get whiplash trying to follow it.
Yeah, I mean, those things go fast.
So that's what you do as your day job. You said you also do some work for realty companies, shooting houses for sale.
Yeah, that's been really great. Just an awesome company out of Nashville. I went up and trained there over a year ago, and got the gig doing photography and videography for realtors. Just in the greater Charlotte area. Like I was telling you guys, I'm coming up your way to Raleigh to shoot a couple houses this week. It's an awesome gig. I don't want to say it's easy. It does have its challenges, but it's fun, and that's another steady thing that one of the 3 or 4 steady things that I kind of have going on. So, yeah.
Okay. What would you say are some of the challenges of shooting houses? Because I would imagine, an empty house and you kind of have a few hours to wander around and get all the shots you want. Is there actually like a constricted time frame, or are there a lot of challenges editing? What makes it difficult?
What's cool is I don't have to do any editing. That's all sent back to the headquarters in Nashville. As far as shooting, when I first was going up to train for the job, I was thinking like, how many ways can you possibly shoot a house? Do I even need training for this? And then I spent 5 days up there, and it was like, wow, there's, and Houselands kind of has got the market going of these really high quality professional videos for this stuff, and we do a lot of photos, and but the walkthrough video is where it gets kind of tricky. We do glide cam based walkthrough videos of the house. Your decisions on what we call pathing are really crucial, like where to start and where to stop your shots. I'll do anywhere between 15 and 25 individual video clips of a given house. 70, 90 photos. So it ends up being this kind of intense process, but I've gotten it to where I do a 5,000 square foot house in an hour now. So
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's streamlined.
Well, and I would imagine that that's probably the biggest challenge, is that probably every house you go into is different. And so it's not like a cookie cutter thing like, okay, we're going to walk in the front door and turn right into the dining room and everything. You probably have to do a walkthrough and figure out where the hell everything is, where the windows are, so you don't just come around a corner and get the sun right in the lens and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I walk in and I got to turn all the lights on. I got to adjust all the blinds a certain way. I got to hide, soap bottles and paper towels and do all this other stuff before I can even start shooting. And then, there's kind of a science to it when you finally when they cut together my videos and I watch them. It's like, yeah, okay, I see why they have me do it this way. And the biggest thing for me is what I like about it a lot is that kind of like when I worked retail, I'm meeting people every day, just new people, nice people that I'm the homeowners that I'm going to, shoot their house. And on the other side of that, it's really stressful when homeowners have pets running around or where they're in my shots. I have it all the time where the homeowner walks through the room like while I'm shooting and, oh, sorry,
Oh, they don't even take off for the afternoon while you do this thing? They just sit there and watch football while you're shooting their kitchen?
Yeah, most of them are super cool, and they're like, okay, I'll go walk the dog. But some of them are like, they have no idea what's going on, and they walk through the room, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were shooting. It's like, yeah, well, you did, and you just ruined the shot.
You can just CGI that out, right?
Yeah, they can just edit that out.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm always interested to see. People think about going into a career in filmmaking, and you kind of get a narrow idea of what the possibilities are. Film, television, documentaries, that kind of thing. And it's interesting to see what other industries and what other ways there are to make money doing this kind of stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you have tried your hand at some narrative films. How many have you directed so far?
That have been like actual festival films. I just did my 8th last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and tell everybody they can check out your work at andrewhugginsfilm.com. And you have about 6 or 7 right here. 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 6 right here on the main page. You also have your screenplays here, which is interesting. People could just go to your website and read your screenplays, which I don't see a lot of people do. Why'd you decide to do that?
Yeah, I think that's something, writing's like usually super personal, so people definitely don't want to throw it out there and be like, oh, read what I spent hours on by myself trying to create.
People are usually kind of paranoid that, you just throw the idea out there and somebody sees it on the internet and steals it.
That too, yeah. That's something I have no way to protect myself from right now. I guess I haven't thought that someone would want to make one of those screenplays bad enough to do that, but I don't know. I mean, I put them out there just, because I don't have the means to make everything I write. I write a lot. And I make shorts as often as I can. I'm on an average of 2 a year. I usually make 2 short films a year, but I write way more than that, so I like to put them up there. You know, I don't think anyone really checks it out or reads those scripts, but occasionally I'm able to direct an actor to it and be like, yeah, you just check it out on this link and you can read, you know, whatever you need to from there.
Has anybody ever come to you and said, hey, I read this on your website and I'd like to make it?
No, I haven't had anything like that. I don't think anyone's really contacted me about any of those screenplays in particular. No.
So where do you find the time for all this? Because it sounds like your day job keeps you pretty damn busy, especially if there's some travel involved, and yet you still have time to write. You know, you consider a lot of writing, and you know, just by judging the number of screenplays here, I mean, hell, you have a feature-length one right here. You know, you do in fact do quite a bit of writing. Plus, you manage 2 shorts a year. Where do you find the time for all this?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm just.
I imagine you can't be found out at the bar very often, partying it up.
No, that used to be me, 100%. You know, but now if I'm not working, you know, I'm at home, and I guess here's an example. You know, I used to play video games all the time. That's where my initial like spark of interest in storytelling came from when I was a teenager. And I used to play so many video games. I play every new one that came out. And now, as I've noticed from last year going into this year, they're just sitting here, and I don't ever play games anymore. And I watch movies if I have free time, or TV. A lot of awesome filmmaking being done on TV now too. So I just sit and watch, and even if it's terrible, I watch a lot of bad movies, but I even learn from those, you know, things not to do. But yeah, as far as finding the time, it's just a matter of, you know, what do I want? What do I want to be doing? And like pretty much everyone else in my position, I do want to make something feature length eventually, something, you know, 90 minutes, whatever you consider that as. But I'm really content doing short films right now. So once I get the motivation and the drive to like decide which of those screenplays I want to make next, I just really, I mean, I wake up and I think about that, and I think about it when I go to bed. I mean, even if it takes me 6 months to make it, I just get really, really engrossed in that, you know, process. So I'm kind of able to just make the time.
Right. Well, that's awesome to have that kind of passion.
Yeah, I kind of got that passion in film school. You know, like mentioned, I had a few instructors that were really awesome to me, and I felt, I mean, if I think about it, I felt pretty, you know, intensely passionate about the filmmaking process since, you know, really 2011. So it's been a while now. It's kind of finally able to think of it and be like, you know, this might be what I do the rest of my life. I don't want to predict things like that far out, but I love it that much.
Right, right.
So I was going to ask if you had some sort of like.
First, he was going to take a long pause, and then he was going to ask.
Did we lose him? There he is.
Yeah. Say that again, comrade.
Really? The stutter? Okay.
Yeah, you're like freezing for like 5 seconds every other time you talk. It's weird.
I don't know why. Okay. Well, I was just asking, Andrew, if you had some sort of like daily routine or like, you know, daily structure that you use to kind of keep yourself focused on your film projects, your writing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's weird because I don't really, and being a freelancer full time, like my days are so different. Today I shot a house at 9 a.m. and I came back and took like a 4-hour nap, and then I've just been reading and watching stuff since I woke up. So today's like, I can kind of say today was a success, sort of, because I did work for like 20 minutes this morning, but I don't really have, you know, some days I'll have 4 houses and to shoot that'll take up most of my day. Or if I'm shooting for, you know, doing the motorsports stuff, show Americana, whatever, those are long days. So and those days might start at 7 a.m. or they might start at 2 p.m. So every day is kind of different as far as my schedule goes. But I do have routines for sure that kind of keep me structured a little bit as far as When I wake up, I I tend to read a lot as soon as I wake up in the morning, and then later on in the day is when I start watching things, TV shows, movies, whatever. I've got an endless list of things that I need to get to watch. So I do try to stay kind of disciplined on that, but no kind of really great scheme or structure to it. Just because being a freelancer, things are different every day.
Right.
Right. Now, as a freelancer, I'm curious, especially with some of these bigger clients like the motorsports and the housing stuff. Do you have your own equipment, or do you rent a lot of stuff?
I do have my own stuff. It's getting pretty dated at this point. I'm really hoping to get a new camera by this fall. But yeah, I've got my same stuff I've been using for a long time, a Canon 60D DSLR. I don't really have any good audio gear. I've got a Zoom H4n recorder that I use. I finally got a really nice tripod, and I've got a glide cam that I shoot houses with. But I kind of just have like the bare minimum of what I need to do all these things. Clients, luckily, are still seem to be perfectly content with 1080 video. They're not like insisting I deliver them 4K products or anything, so I don't have to rent for that yet. But
Well, they're the ones who have to store it on their servers, so.
yeah. I mean, the next camera I want to get is 4K. I'm jumping in there finally, but everyone that I do videos for has been pretty content with just the product that my cheap 5-year-old DSLR has given them. So yeah.
Hey, whatever works, man. If that's what they like.
Yeah.
So, getting to your films, your most recent one is called Civil, which, for the people who haven't seen it, it's been on the festival circuit for a while, people. So we expect you've seen it. But for
and we hope that everyone went to Film Spark 2015, where it was voted like best film.
You won the festival. Congratulations.
Won all the things. Man, you know what? All the other festivals. Just chuck those awards. You don't need them.
Yeah. No, Film Spark was the first festival that it screened at. It was right after I finished it, and so that one means quite a bit to me to have been a part of that.
We gave you two. You got the encore screening at the Cary Theater a couple months later.
That was great. I had a blast coming up for that too.
We give our filmmakers their money's worth.
Yes.
So for anybody who hasn't seen it, go ahead and give people the synopsis.
Yeah, so it's a 9-minute film about it deals with being a soldier during the Civil War. There's a thread of racial prejudice, kind of dealing with the issue of race during that time, and ultimately it kind of deals with forgiveness more than anything in terms of like themes or emotions. Forgiveness is a big thing in there. It's more action-packed in a sense than anything else I'd ever done. There's a lot. This film's 9 minutes. The script was like 6 pages. It was short, but there was so many just different things in the script. It ends up being kind of it moves along at a decent pace, until the end. So it's I think it's probably more fun to watch than any of the other ones I've done.
Well, I enjoyed watching it.
But that's just every one of my films kind of is. So.
Well, I enjoyed it, and I think the audience enjoyed it too if they voted it best of the festival. And I assume you've won some awards at some other festivals too. So I think it's going over pretty well.
Yeah, thank you.
But we were kind of curious. We're always looking at advice that our guests can give to other people, who are trying to do stuff. And I couldn't help but notice that you made this really fantastic short film that's a period piece set during the Civil War. And when we were talking in the pre-show, you had said you'd actually done a couple period pieces. I assume all of them for relatively small budgets. So I would be really curious to hear and I think the audience would too, some advice for shooting a period piece on a budget, because just by its nature, nothing is natural. You know, you can't just go out on the street and there will be horses and buggies and stuff. So,
Right. Yeah.
how do you do that?
I would have loved to have been able to afford some kind of horse and buggy thing for one of these. That'd have been awesome. But we basically, the costumes are huge. I mean, they're so expensive. Props, rifles, replica rifles, those are $180 a piece. I mean, unless they're cheaper somewhere I don't know about. But so yeah, the money it is a big thing and it racks up. I've done 3 of the Civil War films. Not related story-wise, but I packaged them in a Kickstarter thing as kind of, the Civil War trilogy, just 3 films set in that time period that I did. The first one was my senior thesis film coming out of the Art Institute of Charlotte. It's called Where the Wolves Lie. That's 22 minutes, and that one had a pretty substantial budget of just whatever I had saved and was making at the time working in retail. And the next one was Grit, which we did in 2014. That one was Where the Wolves Lie was 2012, Grit 2014. Now that one was very cheap. I just had to get the costumes, and that one is just 2 soldiers talking in the woods, so that one was a little more doable. And then Civil, this last one we did a Kickstarter for, so that's where I found most of the funds to do these things. As far as, making a period piece, it's kind of hard to get around the cost of the costumes. I will say props. I got around the cost of props a little bit, finding really great antique shops. I feel like in the whole state of North Carolina, there's an awesome community of people, saving things or recycling things that can be used for different kinds of period pieces. I was able to get chairs and tables and utensils for really cheap. And then the biggest thing of all with the period pieces is the locations, because if that doesn't look right or is off in any way, it definitely will take you out of the story really fast. So I found a great farmhouse for Where the Wolves Lie in Gastonia, and then for that film, other parts of that film, and then for the entirety of Civil, we used Rumpel Farm out in Kannapolis, North Carolina, which is near Charlotte, near me, and an awesome family. The Rumpels run that place, and they're if anyone needs a barn or a farm or anything, I'd say definitely look them up on the NC Film Office website. They're awesome people, and they're incredibly generous, and they let us film there in their barn for Civil and out in their fields. But sometimes I would find locations I'd want to use, and they'd be thousands of dollars for the day, and I just couldn't do it. So right. I'd say it was a combination of just finding the right people at the right time too.
Well, I think especially with something Civil War era, this is the kind of area where Civil War reenactment is kind of a thing. So I would imagine that there are people out there who just have this stuff because they do it for fun, and maybe you'd be able to recruit some of them, or at least borrow their stuff.
Yeah, I reached out to some of them, but never got any responses. And I had a couple connections that were going to put me in contact with some reenactors, and nothing ever worked out. But yeah, in North Carolina, I know there is a decent community of those guys that do it, and we screened alongside a film at a festival in Alabama a feature called Men Go to Battle, and I read an article on how they did that. And if you film with reenactors, you have to dress like them, and the camera has to basically be in a burlap sack with just the lens sticking out. They're very strict about that. I think it's awesome that they're so dedicated to how they kind of live in that world when they reenact. But I would have loved to have that experience, but I just didn't get in contact with anyone about it.
Because I want to say there's a big one they do every year over in Greensboro at the Guilford battlegrounds for the Guilford County Courthouse, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's one. I remember I went there one time back when I was in the Boy Scouts, and the thing that always stood out to me was the guys who die first in the battle,
Mhm.
like immediately just sat up and started smoking cigarettes.
Yeah,
So you had this whole row of like 30 dead guys who were just sitting there smoking
yeah,
while the rest of the battle's going on.
that's awesome.
Because they're going to be laying there for the next 45 minutes, you know, they might as well just take it easy.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would suck to be in a reenactment and be one of the first ones to die. Like all
yeah,
that work and planning, but hey, I guess somebody's got to do it.
really. So let's break it down a little bit. When you write a script, obviously the first step to a great movie is a great script, and I think Civil has a really good one. Um, when you're writing something that you know is going to be a period piece, do you start out just kind of with the vomit draft, just writing whatever you can think of that'll be cool, or and then later on you'll go back and scale things as needed for what you can practically shoot, or when you're writing, are you thinking, all right, that's a cool idea, but I'm not going to be able to film that?
I basically, the way I write every one of my scripts is the first draft is pretty close to what will end up being the final draft. I edit myself really, really meticulously as I go, and you know, it being a super independent filmmaker, I have to write what I know I have access to. Um, so with the period pieces, it's like if I can just keep the locations interesting, like a nice sprawling field, a nice barn that I know I have access to, I can, kind of work things around that. But yeah, as far as, you know, what's important to me, during the whole process is the narrative as a whole, but just, the characters and different ways to kind of use um, subtext to build the characters up to whatever ends up happening at the end. With Civil, I wrote half of it, like, I want to say there was a 3-month gap in between when I wrote half of it, and then finally was like, oh, I need to finish this one, and sat down and just wrote the other half. And then it went through about six. That one was a little different because it went through about 6 or 7 edits and redrafts after that of like, oh, this dialogue makes no sense or whatever, just going back through it. But yeah.
Speaking of dialogue making sense, when you're doing a period piece, you're usually dealing with people who talked a different way than we're used to talking right now, and probably different from the way you think of dialogue in your head. Did you have to do? I guess I'll start out asking if you had to do some research about the dialogue and the way people talked back then, but and then if you want to steamroll into what other kind of research you had to do for other stuff for a period piece.
Yeah, I haven't. As far as I read some old, I've done a good bit of research on all sorts of things for these period pieces, but as far as how people talk, I really just I read snippets of like newspaper things and then of like letters people wrote, so that kind of gave me an idea of how they talk. But born and raised in Concord, North Carolina, in the South, so I kind of just took the way people talk around me and added a lot of apostrophes at the end of words, so to where they kind of shorten the words and give them somewhat of an accent.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I had to do, as part of my senior thesis in school, I had to write a research paper on barns, like it was short, but it was like a 5-page paper on just barns and how they got to be the way they were in the late 1800s. So and there were, obviously costumes, a lot of research on costumes over the years, and just different things, and as far as how can we make it real so that people aren't distracted, because I've watched short films before that are period pieces and they've been very distracting if everything's not 100% correct, and everything's not 100% correct in my films either. There's small things here and there that I absolutely hate about them that I didn't correct at the time, but is trying to get as close as we can to that.
Right. Well, and I guess getting back to the idea of advice for other people, especially when dealing with a period piece, you're not going to get everything 100%. There's going to be some details you miss, something you weren't able to research, or, just by the nature of where you're shooting, maybe you got to really work to block out some stuff in the background that would be a giveaway. What are some tips you could give to people for minimizing distracting elements that might take people out of the story?
Yeah, I would say
planning's got to be a big part of it.
Yeah, and the way I made these is I have an awesome group, some of my best friends that work as crew with me on these. But when it comes down to all the pre-production and planning, it is pretty much just me. So I'm just trying to be as accurate as I can with the way I'm writing things. As far as writing goes, I'm just really obsessed with how people talk to each other. I mean, all my films, for the most part, tell their stories primarily through the characters developing themselves by having conversations with each other. And I'd say that's a good way to get around, any distracting elements in your production is if character development and you have a good setting and you have good characters, then you might not run into so many logistical issues as far as producing it. If you just kind of keep it simple. If you don't have a huge budget and you're doing a period piece, you really got to keep it simple. I didn't write any scenes where I needed 50 extras. I do have a short script that I want to make someday that involves a battlefield full of dead soldiers, right? But it's not going to happen. You need a lot of money for stuff like that most of the time. So, if you keep it simple and don't include stuff like that, you can pull things off most of the time.
Right. Well, it sounds like another thing you're saying is
mannequins.
Well, say that again, comrade.
You just shoplift all the mannequins.
Yeah.
There you go.
Back the truck up, man. Just dump them in.
Yep.
Peel out. Boom. There's your dead soldiers.
They all died, and somebody stripped their clothes. They're all just laying naked on the battlefield.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like what you're saying and it goes back to the writing, is that if your characters and your story are interesting enough, then people aren't going to be sitting there, with their eyes wandering around the frame going, is that a car in the background?
Right. Yeah.
They'll be focused on what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's, if it's interesting enough, if it's genuinely, authentic, and they're having conversations, right from the get-go of your film that pertain to your overall narrative, and they're developing themselves in interesting ways, then people, they'll just be staring at characters' faces instead of all the tiny little parts of the frame that, might be incorrect. Right.
Now, Civil was a really good-looking film. Who was the DP? Was that you?
No, DP was Derek Donovan. He's a Hickory, North Carolina guy, and I've used him as DP for my last 3 shorts, and he's going to shoot my next one as well. So, super talented guy out of Hickory.
And what, the most generic question in any filmmaking interview ever, but what camera were you using?
Oh, yeah, we used the Canon C100 for Civil. We were going to use Derek. He owns a Kenny Mini, which is kind of a camera. It's a 4K camera, but it's not used very much in independent film, really, that I know of. But we were going to use that. Then, of course, night before we shot, camera died, wouldn't turn on, whatever. Were issues with it interacting with the monitor that Derek had for it. So we used a camera that our first AD, Mike Rita, had access to, Canon C100. We used an anamorphic lens adapter, and we used Zeiss Prime lenses. And a lot of people are just insistent on shooting their films on some kind of, big name, high profile thing. But the C100 was great for us.
I like the way you tap danced around actually saying red.
Yeah, Alexa, all that stuff. I do a lot of research on those cameras, but I'm not going to be shooting them anytime soon. Not that I have anything against them. If I had the access to them, I totally would. But
right. Well, and if you know what you're doing, and it's obvious that you and the rest of your crew do really know what you're doing, but you can do amazing things with almost any camera. I mean, we saw this past year Tangerine, the film that got nominated for a couple Academy Awards, shot on an iPhone. Um, I've seen people do some pretty amazing video work, and you go and you look, and it was done on a Canon T2i.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, I didn't know that camera could do that. But if somebody really knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and Derek, our DP, he also shoots Mike Rita's films. Mike is a good friend of mine that we kind of talk and work together on all of our films, each other's films. Derek shoots his films as well, and he just shot this incredible short called Him and Her. The visuals are insane. Derek is really took the time in film school. He went to the same school I did, and he took the time to learn, how to light human beings, how to light rooms, and just how to, create light and shadow that really helps tell the story. And he shot stuff on DSLRs with, the right lighting and, really solid lenses that you honestly, it's hard to tell the difference between that and, some really high-profile cameras.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and as I've said many times before, Civil is a great-looking movie. I've definitely got to go back and check out your other stuff and see those, but I'm sure they're very professional-looking too.
Yeah, the one before Grit we shot on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. I'm pretty sure that camera right now is like literally $500, and it wasn't more than like 1,000 when we shot with it, but it's got a Super 16mm sensor, and it just gave this awesome look to Grit. And that was just, I mean, a tiny little. This camera's literally like this big, and it's like the size of an iPhone. And did you hack it to shoot RAW? I don't think we did. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
Okay. No, that's cool. That's cool to know. I remember when those came out, and everybody was really excited about them. I've never gotten to play with one myself, though, so it's good to get a first-hand testimonial.
Yeah, it was great. And the battery life on those is like literally 20 minutes. So we had two pickup trucks, about 300. We were out in the middle of the woods, so we had them out on the pathway. We had about 300 feet worth of stingers running to the pickup trucks to power the two Blackmagics we were using. Wow. Because we didn't have like external like Anton Bowers or anything for them at the time. So that was a pain, but yeah, I mean, I haven't found, I'm myself to be really picky about, camera choice or anything. I love we just shot my last one on the Sony A7S. I absolutely love that camera, and I want to get the A7S II for myself and for my business, but, if I ever were to have access to, something that's more industry standard, I absolutely would use it. But I've been content with these, kind of below the line cameras. They've been great.
Right. Well, they say the best camera to shoot your movie with is the camera you have, whatever the hell that may be. Just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
So, so you shoot your movie, Civil. You go ahead and edit it. Sounds like you got it in just before we had Film Spark. But tell us a little bit about taking that out on the festival circuit and what your experience has been with that. And, obviously also if you have any advice for people about sending a film out like that.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast, honestly. We did Civil last May. I was finished editing it with music from composer Alexander Arnson. He's awesome composer that's done a lot of really cool films and shorts. I was done we were done with music and editing in August, so I snuck it in there at the last second for Film Spark, and that was the first festival we played at. And since then, it's screened at a total of 18 festivals altogether, and I've traveled with it as much as I can. I've been to Greenville, North Carolina, Wilmington, obviously Cary, Raleigh, up where you guys are, and we screen next week at the Charlotte Black Film Festival. That'll be the first time I've screened in Charlotte in like 9 months, so that'll be a lot of fun. And you know, it's just a matter of finding the right kind of festival. Civil is like, you know, it's pretty short at 9 minutes. It asks a lot of the audience in terms of like just where your allegiances and where your emotions kind of are supposed to be, what direction you're supposed to be thinking, and slows down a lot at the end, and so you have time to process it, but then there's another kind of decision to be made by the characters there that alters what you're thinking. So I didn't know when I started submitting it. I was like, I don't know if people are gonna dig this. Like, I mean, there's literally crying in the film. There's violence. There's just some kind of intense scenarios. I didn't know if people would like it, but it's done good so far. It's been a lot of fun traveling around with it. Something that I think is, you know, not some kind of like insider secret, but you know, making something in the 8 to 12 minute range is really good nowadays for festivals. My first film was 22 minutes long, Where the Wolves Lie, and that's really long. I mean, it did good at festivals, but it didn't even get into some because it was too long. So the last 4 short films I've made have been between 7 and 10 minutes, really, right in between that time range. So I think that helped me a lot. Just, you know, Civil asks a lot of the audience, but you do kind of get in and get out. It's not. If Civil was like a 20-minute film with all the intensity that it has now, I don't know if people would really be willing to sit there and, you know, watch people cry for that long. I don't know how that would work, but I'd say, you know, watch your time limit. That would be kind of an important thing. I mean, if you write a script and you're just love it and passionate about it, and it's 13 pages, by all means, you know, don't try to shorten it by a page or 4 just because you think it had have a better chance at festivals, you know. But you know, if
you got to be aware.
Yeah, you got to be aware of it. And my last few scripts have all been 6, 7, 8 pages, so it's just kind of worked out to where it's that time frame. But and I would say, you know, if you make something short and are doing the short film festival thing, you know, go submit to as many that you can go to in person as you can. I mean, that's the whole deal. I've met some awesome, just really nice people, including you guys, from festivals. You know, it's a great experience. I've got it playing at the Albuquerque Film and Music Experience in New Mexico next month, and I can't go. And I was planning on trying to go, but it's just such an ordeal to get out there for it. Right. And I've got a conflict that I had planned months in advance anyway, before I knew I got into that one. But, you know, so it's a bummer when I can't go to these things, but you know, when I can, it's been an awesome experience. You know, I've had my other films before Civil, I had really great festival experiences, but Civil has been, you know, has had a lot of a good reception to it, so it's just allowed me to meet these other people, primarily in North Carolina, that are trying to do what I'm doing, and you know, that's also a testament to the crew, Derek and Mike that I mentioned, Kevin Strom that does sound on my films. Those guys are, you know, Civil was the first film I made that didn't have audio problems, didn't have weird edits, that the cinematography was really, really sharp because of Derek. I mean, you know, so I was finally able to really hit a stride with those guys, and so full credit to them as well for whatever Civil's been able to do so far.
Right. I'm curious because you said Civil, you raised the money on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And you've been sitting around to a bunch of festivals. When you figured out how much money you needed as your goal for the Kickstarter campaign, did you include festival submissions in that?
I didn't. No, I basically included bare minimum, like what I was going to pay my actors. that's first and foremost for me. What am I going to pay actors? And then you know, my Kickstarter goal was $800, and then we ended up getting 1,900, and it was able to cover actors. I was able to give a per diem to the crew, which on these things, you know, a lot of time crew, we're all friends. We work for free on each other's stuff, but I was able to at least cover some gas and provide really good food for the crew that day. It was just a one-day shoot, and but there were a lot of things, even with the $1,900, there were a lot of things that hit me with as far as wardrobe and props, and then film festival submission fees, where I was spending quite a bit of my own money on it after the fact as well. But Civil, like I was saying, was kind of this first film where a lot of different people's talents and my crew kind of came together for the first time. So it was like, man, I really like this, what everyone was able to do on this, and I feel pretty confident about it, so I'm, you know, going to push it really hard.
Right. Do you have any other questions, Conrad?
I can't think of any.
We covered it all. So tell us what you're working on next, Andrew.
Yeah, the next film, the tentative title's Redneck. It's I haven't really written an actual synopsis for it yet, so I'll try to kind of throw it out there briefly. It's about an elderly Southern guy. He's an alcoholic. It's sounding super cliche so far, but it gets interesting. He kind of is thrust into this friendship with this young African-American boy that moves into his neighborhood, and the elderly guy is very set in his ways, and he's, you know, the title character. He's kind of a typical, you know, a lot of people I've seen growing up in the South. He's, you know, typical Southerner, and then he forms this relationship with this kid, and there's also kind of themes of domestic violence in there, and there's this underlying theme of mental illness from the title character, and I guess I don't want to give it away completely, although the script is on my website. I need to take it down. You know, it's kind of, post-apocalyptic's not the term, but kind of like this theme of the end of the world, so kind of a Southern drama. I'm super influenced by Jeff Nichols and David Gordon Green and some of those guys that, you know, make these really cool family-based Southern dramas. Those guys also went to UNCSA in Winston, North Carolina. You know? So I really like that kind of stuff, and this is my short version of that. I'm going back to an actor that I used in Where the Wolves Lie and The Bishop Boys, two of my other films, Tom England. He's going to play the lead role in this. And hopefully we'll shoot in May. I'm still working on locking down locations. You know, I'm not opposed to waiting until June, but yeah, that's the next short that I'll be shooting, and then pushing really hard into the fall with that one.
Nice. Can we hopefully, fingers crossed, hope to see that one submitted to FilmSpark?
I'd love to, yeah. But as far as my time frame in my head of when we'll be able to get it done, I'd love to submit it there, yeah.
Well, that'd be awesome. We're looking forward to it.
Well, you got time. You know, I think we got till what did we set by? End of July?
Something like that, yeah.
Or like maybe even a little bit into August. I can't remember. We're going.
And it did it again.
He froze.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jeff Nichols, man, are you excited about the new one coming out?
Yeah, absolutely. Today I was just Googling showtimes in Charlotte, trying to figure out when it, you know, because I know it's supposed to open on Friday, but nowhere around here showing it yet, but I'm dying to see it, man.
Yeah, he's a hell of a filmmaker, dude.
I love it. I saw Take Shelter and was like, I still like am. It's got to be in my top 10 of all time. I love that movie. Then I saw Mud, and then went back and watched Shotgun Stories. And
Shotgun Stories is so good.
Yeah, Shotgun Stories is really fantastic.
Oh man, that's a hell of a great film.
Yeah, that was on Netflix a couple years back. I was like, oh, as I was getting into his films, I was like, this is awesome. You know, I watched it on Netflix and blew my mind. I mean, I kind of started making films about family, and that used to be in my artist statement, specifically stories about how the familial relationships kind of transcend typical interactions between human beings. And Jeff Nichols always does these things about family, and I just love it.
No, he's a hell of a filmmaker. I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to give you an author. Just because, just from what I've heard, I know you're going to dig this guy. He's hard to find. Like, good luck finding the Kindle book. But he's
Eric Pruitt?
No. Eric Pruitt's awesome, but not Eric Pruitt. Harry
Gotta plug
Crews.
our friends. Say that again?
Harry Crews.
Harry Crews? Okay. Cool.
And he froze again.
Say
Say that again, man. You froze.
What?
You heard Harry Crews, and then you went...
Oh, damn it. Fuck you, Time Warner Cable. No. I don't know if he's still alive, but he wrote all of these awesome novels. He's a dude out of Florida. He's like Dostoevsky, but redneck.
Oh, cool.
And, dude, he's just freaking awesome. Like, The Knockout Artist. Find that one.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You had me at redneck Dostoevsky.
Dude,
There you go.
he's great. He's freaking great.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're giving book recommendations on the show, apparently.
I dig it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time to chat with us, Andrew. Why don't you go ahead and plug where people can find you on the web and social media?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Easiest way to get in contact with me is Facebook. I'm on there. AndrewHugginsFilm.com is where I keep a bunch of short films you can watch and a bunch of screenplays if you're interested.
All those sweet screenplays you can steal.
Yeah, you can steal them, and they can be yours, I guess.
We have it on video. We know we can steal it. So I'm going to go.
I don't tweet and do Instagram as much, but I am kind of on Instagram a lot. I like that. But I'm on social media stuff, but yeah, email is on my website as well, and that's the easiest way. I will say briefly, as far as any other independent filmmakers out there, the coolest part about doing this is the collaboration. I mean, it's film is just so collaborative. So if anyone wants to write something together, or needs help on anything, or any way that I can lend a hand, I'd love to. So.
Right. There are a lot of people in the indie film scene that do the writer-director thing, and, you seem to be doing that mostly, too. I don't mean to criticize or anything, but I'm always interested to see, it's really easy to write something and then, have the visuals in your head and then go and direct it, and I'm always curious to see people collaborating. It's like, all right, yeah, I'll write this and you direct it, or hey, I read the story you wrote, do you mind if I adapt it? So I love the stuff that you have written and directed, and I would really be interested to see you take on somebody else's script that really spoke to you.
Yeah, there's actually a project that is going to happen. It's a short film. The script is like 10 pages. Two actress friends of mine wrote it, and I'm going to work on it. I'm not sure entirely in what capacity yet, but I'm going to be doing that with them sometime soon. Kind of a family movie, short family movie, feel-good movie. But that's something I've wanted to do for a long time, is actually direct someone else's writing, and I think that would be an awesome exercise. One of my professors in school told me that years ago, after I made the first couple really awful short films projects in school. He was like, I'd love to see you direct something that someone else wrote. So still waiting to do that, but I'd love to do it.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you guys very much.
Also got to say thank you to my buddy Conrad Arnold. Conrad, where can everybody find you?
I am on trianglefilmcommunity.com, at NC Film on Twitter, and the Triangle Film Community group on Facebook.
Awesome. And, of course, I'm Bob Walters. You can follow me on Twitter at ParadiseBob. Local Film Talk. You can obviously subscribe to the Local Film Talk YouTube channel and see all our episodes there.
Should.
Do what?
You can and should.
You can and should, and you will if you know what's good for you. if you don't have time to watch these episodes, I know they get a little long. We do the podcast version. You can go onto iTunes and look for Local Film Talk and get the audio version. You can listen to in your car or while you're jogging or doing some yard work. I think I mentioned the Twitter. Huh?
You can quit your job and just watch them.
We got quite a few of them. We got many, many hours of the show. You should just listen to it full time. You know, use all the vacation time you've saved up for the year and listen to these episodes.
There you go.
But of course, Twitter @Local Film Talk. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just want to chit chat with us, localfilmtalk@gmail.com. So, thank you as always, Conrad. Thank you, Andrew, for coming on the show. And thank you, everybody in the audience who's watching live and watching this later on. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Local Film Talk, and we'll see you guys next week.